Alright, they asked me to graph this function or equation. The first thing I'm going to notice that there's nothing to the power of 2. Standard form had ax squared plus bx plus c, so they had a power of 2, but it's not here. The other time we learned about vertex form, it had parentheses squared, but this one has 2 sets of parentheses. Now we'll learn next chapter when you multiply and distribute, x times x is x squared. So this is quadratic. And this is called the intercept form or factored form. The reason why they call that factored form is that, you know, it's a quadratic that's already factored for you. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my A, P, and Q. This is not A, H, and K, and this is not A, B, and C. Okay. So I'm going to write that below. F of x equals A x minus P x minus Q. So I'm writing the form either below or above it. And the reason why you do that is so that you can identify your variables. Class, what's your A value?
2.
And what does an A value that's positive tell us? It opens up. Class, what is your P value? Your P value is just 4. Remember, the formula has a minus sign in there. So again, you can just cover it up. Or if it's a plus sign, you might have to change them to 2 negatives. Class, what is your Q value? Our Q value is 6. Alright, so all I did was just write the form below it, find my A, P, and Q. And now I'm going to find the axis of symmetry. To find the axis of symmetry, it has an equation, x equals P plus Q divided by 2. Essentially, you're finding the midpoint. So my P value is 4, up there. And my Q value is 6. And I'm just going to divide that. So 4 plus 6 is how much, class? 10. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. My x value is 5. That's going to be the vertical line that folds our parabola in half. The next thing I'm going to do, this now sounds very familiar, is I'm going to take my x value and find the vertex. To find the vertex, I just substitute x equals 5 for every x value. X here, X here, X here. So I get f of 5 equals 2 parentheses 5 minus 4, 5 minus 6. Okay, so all I did there is in function notation, replace every x value with 5. Class, what is 5 minus 4?
1.
And 5 minus 6? Class, what's 2 times 1?
2.
And 2 times negative 2?
Negative
2 times negative 1 is negative 2. My fault. So f of 5 equals negative 2. That means the order pair is 5, negative 2. Alright, so all I have to do now is just graph it. We've been practicing in class graphing without the coordinate plane. What I mean without a coordinate plane, I meant without a tick marks. So this is your y value, x-axis. And I'm just going to go through these colors. So I have an x value of 5. Let's graph that. It's positive 5 right here. X equals 5. This is your axis of symmetry. write that if you like. AOS, to remind you, that's the axis of symmetry. So I graphed it. Let's graph this one here. We normally don't graph these, but I want to graph this to show you why the factor form is. So if you go, this is essentially x equals 4 and q equals, x equals 6. Now you can essentially use zero product rule. X minus 4 equals 0, x minus 6 equals 0, solve there and you get x equals 4, x equals 6, okay? So these two values, here's 4. Let me write that, 4. And my green value, which is 6. And this is a visual of what we just did. You found the midpoint. What's a number between 4 and 6? Well, that number is 5. 4 plus 6 divided by 2 is 5. So that's how you're finding the axis of symmetry. You might need to know that for your projects. In your projects, when you're solving graphing, it's where it touches the x-axis. Those are called x-intercepts or roots. All I have to do now is graph 5, negative 2. My vertex is always on my axis of symmetry. 5. Negative 2 means go down. And lastly, I just have to, so we did this one, and now we just have to graph it going up. So there is a graph of my parabola in factored or intercept form.